Can we only absorb 30 grams of protein a day? Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this very pervasive but debunked myth. If you guys would, though, please give me a like down below. I greatly appreciate it. If you're not following or subscribed to me, please do so. And please leave me a comment down under the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let's get over to the topic. Pervasive myth, it is still around. This is one of these myths that no matter how many study after study after study, no matter how many nutritionists explain this is not even biologically true, it's not really based upon anything, is still around. You will see it asked almost on a daily basis. Like you can be in like Facebook groups or whatever, fitness groups, people will ask it every single day. And like this is something that the experts have been saying is insane and just ridiculous for 10, 15, 20 years at this point. So I've always used to joke that when people say in one sitting, I'm like, okay, we'll just stand up and then sit back down and eat another 30 grams. All right, so here's what we get into. It's not that we can't absorb it. We can absorb insane amounts of protein, actually. So that's never an issue of absorption. That used to be the myth, can we absorb it? And the answer is obviously no. You look at historical trends, even in the human digestive system and eating patterns for hundreds of thousands of years, we didn't get large amounts of protein very often. Sometimes we went days at a time without getting like a large animal killed or whatever. And so then sometimes, people then would gorge on protein all at one time and they would have to make that last. So the idea that we can't absorb a large amount of protein in a single meal is ludicrous, and it doesn't match our digestive system. The actual human GI tract is very efficient at scavenging protein. It's something that we need. It's something that there has been a shortage of at different times historically. So the human body tends to be pretty dang good at extracting proteins, particularly from animal sources. Plants, a little harder, but animals, oh yeah, absolutely. We are extremely absurdly efficient at it. So again, we don't waste protein. If nothing else, we still absorb it, metabolize it, even turn it into glucose. Okay, so, and in fact, in many periods of time, protein was a major source of glucose. In certain times of famine or whatever, when we had to find animals, bugs, whatever we could. When frozen months and things, sometimes other things were low. So there were cases where protein was even, the source of carbohydrate, right, to get extra glucose in, which is our primary fuel source. So we have all that, and that's the history. Then people say, okay, but what about for building muscle? Okay, well, that's the big one. That's the big one. So, because that's a separate question, but that's actually been studied. That's been looked at more closely because we always have the problem of we can't use as much protein as we think we can for gaining muscle, right? We've been told that we need to consume amounts of protein for gaining muscle that turn out to be considerably higher than what we know we actually need, but that's okay. That's okay. I mean, it's that whole gram per pound of body weight. It's actually closer to about 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight. Which is about 20 to 30% lower. So that seems to be kind of your upper threshold for gaining muscle. But we need to be clear, there are other metabolic benefits to higher protein. So when someone says, oh, so that's all the protein we need, well, no, just for maximizing muscle growth. Not necessarily for other metabolic benefits, speeding up metabolic rate, recomposition, helping with fat loss, connective tissue. There's benefits to going higher. All right, but back over to the point. I digress. So we get into this topic, and it's like how much can be used to gain muscle? Well, it's not that straightforward either, but from a meal, what has been studied, we know 100 grams in one meal still has muscle building benefits, over 30 grams. People say, what? Okay, but here's the kicker. So this has been studied even post-workout, and what we find it's not that we can't absorb protein, it's that we can only absorb so much protein per hour. All right? We still get the protein. Like, dude, you're absorbing stuff from yesterday. Like, if you ate a large amount of protein yesterday, you may still be digesting and absorbing some of it today. Okay, does that make sense? So this is where the whole meal thing gets kind of mixed up. Now, people say, well, what's the limit? Well, it depends entirely on the source. Okay, that's what also is a little bit of nuance. Different proteins, we can absorb different types. I mean, from even 2 different types of animal meat might not have the exact same absorption rate. Okay, understand? But what they did when they gave a protein shake, here's what they found. The initial muscle protein synthesis, this is what we care about. Are we getting muscle protein synthesis that they can measure in the muscle tissue happening? All right, that's the money. That's what we're looking for. Okay? Right? If we're chasing muscle growth. So what did studies find? This is one done last year, I believe, a year to 2 years ago. They gave test subjects 30 grams and they gave other 100 grams. Now, interestingly enough, the initial spike was identical. Okay? Now, so if you took that at face value and go, well, if in the first hour, the muscle protein synthesis was literally identical. So then that was your limit. But it's like, but that's not what happened. It tapered down. All right, so guess what happened? The 100 gram didn't. So what ended up happening, the 30 grams, within an hour or 2, it tapered back off. Right, it spiked up, was there for a little bit, and then tapered down. With the 100 grams, it prolonged it for 3 times as long. So it ended up giving the same absorption per hour in terms of even the muscle protein synthesis, right? But by eating the 100 grams all at once, it lasted 3 times as long, which makes sense when you look at the biology. Why? Because we can only absorb so much per hour. Therefore, we can only use so much per hour for that purpose. Which also tells us protein timing isn't as critical as we might think it is. Because if we eat a lot more protein, we're just absorbing it longer. We get the muscle building benefits longer instead of all at once. So then people say, oh, so is there a benefit to eating smaller amounts more frequently? No, probably not. Doesn't actually, at least based upon that limited study, probably not. If you look at the human digestive process, again, probably not. As long as you end up getting the amount you're trying to get in a day, there will be minimal differences based upon the timing. Now, what that doesn't mean is that you do something dumb like, okay, well, I'm going to eat all my protein in one meal a day, 200 grams, and not have any other protein. See, that's where people get dumb. They'll take a piece of data like that and say, can I take it to the farthest, stupidest, most impractical extreme? No, that's just being stupid. Don't do that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.